guys. Welcome.
Good
Hey,
morning.
So,
Hello.
so before we jump into the details, let's just do a round of presentations, as in present yourselves. First one on the left for me, if I look clockwise, is Pepe.
Hi. My name is Pepe. I played bass guitar on that record long time ago.
A long time.
And
Let's stress that out
what
again.
what was that? 15 years ago? 17 years ago?
Yeah, 2005,
2005.
summer of
All right.
2000. Yeah, summerish, summer to late 2005. And Tommy is up next.
hi guys. I'm Tommy, and I played the drums, actually the electric drums,
Electronic drums. Yeah.
electronic
So
drums
yeah.
on that recording 17 years ago.
And that was one of the reasons why I thought about finishing this, because we have this. We recorded this with my V drum back then at my house, as in the drums, and it had shitty samples back then. At least I don't know how the current samples are from Roland, but just playing those MIDI tracks through Superior Drummer made me realize, hey, it sounds pretty cool. We can actually do something with this, finish it, and not leave this as the unreleased, never released album. Um, let's see where to start. Actually, the project back then was called Terminal I. Actually, the band name. Pepe, do you want to tell us
Yeah,
where
well,
that comes
yeah.
from? 'Cause you came up with
Terminal
that one.
I was a name that we came up with, me and Tommy and some of the other guys back in Italy, of another project that we had. And it wasn't really Terminal I, it was something along the lines of that name. And then we presented that to you, and you kind of like play around with words, and Terminal I was
Mm.
the outcome.
No.
And yeah, that's pretty much all I can remember
Oh.
from that.
I think it was derived from where you guys are. Well, a city in your neighbor. Well, where you guys came from.
No,
Termini.
it was no, it was Terminal
Oh.
Third Eye. That was the original.
Ah, yeah, that was it. Yeah. You're right.
But you
No,
didn't like.
Yeah, no, I didn't
Uh,
like the third one because
yeah.
obviously. So the story I remember is that some tourists asked Pepe for the road to Termini, and pronounced it as Termini, and he was a bit
Yeah,
confused. And afterwards, like, let's do something with this. So Termini
that's true.
That was
instead of
actually
Termini.
that was Tommy. Something that happened to him.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't know. Who cares? So how we met up, first of all. So I'll introduce that one. I was looking for a stable band. Was jamming with friends for many years, and mainly we were always looking for a drummer. So things never really materialized. And then I came across this guy at work who was singing, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm from Italy. I came here to make music, and my whole band is coming over, but we could still need an extra guitar player." That was pretty much the story. I think the guitar player was quite young, so he couldn't be there for another year. So that was also a good reason for looking for a guitar player. So this was in early 2005, and I think Pepe showed up in March 2005, and Tommy, you were already there. Um, yeah, it's pretty much through him we met up and started working on your songs first, because I
For
figured
me,
out
it was June 2005.
June. Okay. Okay. Long time ago.
And yeah,
But anyway, yeah. So
I do
my
actually
point
have
is, so writing process. You guys had like 9 or 10 songs already, and I figured, well, I'll just adapt whatever I have to what you guys are doing, and come up with X amount of songs. So we started tracking Pepe. You had the clicks in mind, etc. Then when we started tracking Tommy, he was surprised by all the changes that happened, because Tommy, you came over earlier to the Netherlands, to Amsterdam. So you were confused by the changes made by both Pepe and the guitar player that was still in Italy. things were taking up too much time. We had a studio session plan in Sweden at Los Angeles with Andy LaRock, and yeah, it was not it was not going the right way time wise, and I didn't want to cancel it because I had, like I said, jammed with other people before, and it was always pushing things back and canceling. And I'm not saying it's their fault. It's also partly my mistake in previous years of not knowing exactly what I wanted to do, changing opinions like, oh, maybe it should be heavier, more melodic, and blah blah blah. And yeah, things were not happening. Let's put it that way. So I really wanted to keep that date there. So I told you guys, hey, um, we're not going to make it on time. It was 1 month prior to the studio time, and so I said I'll just do a side project with the stuff I have and come back and we'll continue working on the song. I think the vocals were not well. I'm sure the vocals were not done either. The lyrics were not done, and we were still figuring out what to do because the songs, from my perspective, were in the style of kind of like Pantera meets Opeth, and quite long. I think there was a couple of short songs, but most of them were like 5 to 7 or 8 minutes. So it's a lot of work to figure that out. So in a month, I put together all kinds of demos I had, and I flew over to Sweden. Re-recorded the guitars because the whole recording was a mess. So we just decided to focus on guitars, just have that with a click and properly recorded, left and right, 2 guitar tracks, nice stereo panning. Yeah, and then I came back, and September we started. You guys liked the stuff, so we started working on that. Started recording. Tell me on drums. Maybe I should let you guys speak a little bit more because I'm dominating the whole conversation here.
Well, that's all right. Well, that's pretty much what happened. That we couldn't get get everything on time to go to Sweden and record what we had. So yeah, like you said,
maybe we should focus on since you're talking already. Maybe we should just focus on your bass recording. I think it took 1 or 2 days, or 1 or 2 sessions at least.
well, it was pretty straightforward because you came back
Yeah.
from Sweden with all the songs and you had everything tapped out. So
Yeah.
I
So,
think I spent maybe couple of weeks learning everything sort of properly. Then I came over and we tracked pretty much everything, right, in a couple of days.
yeah, I think it was like after work on I don't know, Wednesday or Thursday afternoon or something. Can't
Yeah,
remember.
it was pretty flawless,
Yeah. Sure.
just does
And I
DI
think
into your stuff.
what did you record with? Oh yeah, your 5-string ESP, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, because you did previous demos on my. I used to have this fretless quartz Kerbo. It was not a good instrument and poorly set up. So the sound of that was quite atrocious. But that was for demoing your songs previously.
But it was fun. It was a nice bass. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, but see, there are many instruments that are nice, but as soon as you start recording with them, you notice that they're just not good enough. And yeah, that's one of them.
Yeah,
so we
the
did
ESP,
use that, obviously.
Yeah, the ESP did a terrific job, and you'll hear it on the recording once it's there.
Tommy, you can bash my V drum kit, TD10 it was. You hated it.
No,
you kept complaining that it was not a real drum kit.
It was a nice experience actually. I learned something. I learned something very valuable. I don't like V drums, but
See, I remember you were bashing it all the time, and I kept saying, "Don't worry about it. I'll fix it. I'll edit it. I'll fix it in the mix. You'll sound great."
you did, and you did. It worked quite fine in the end. So,
but you don't want to know how much time I wasted on it. I mean, it took so much time just to see. Every time you hit a tom, for example, or anything, the whole kit kind of moved. So there were little on the grid. There were little dots on every element of the kit, and yeah, it was hard to clean it up because you really have to listen. Okay, what should be removed? What should be still be in there? Uh, and the real problem was that I edited it, and once I flew back to Sweden to actually have it mixed, um, I realized that I edited too much. It sounded like a drum machine, which didn't make sense anymore. And yeah, and that kind of ruined the whole thing for me. So for the actual recording that we're releasing now, I went back to your original tracks and properly cleaned it. I didn't shift things too much. I just removed all the, like I said, if you hit a tom, there's all these symbols that are also being tracked or caught. I removed that, but I just left the instruments that were supposed to be there, and maybe here and there I kind of moved it or something. But I didn't turn it into a robot. I
Yeah,
kept
because once
your
you start
feel.
quantizing things too much, then it becomes too much of a drum machine feeling. Because the
It's
thing
not
is that
even
once you start
quantized
looking
on the
at the
grid.
grid, yeah,
Yeah,
once you start looking at the grid, you're thinking, I should move things.
the samples were not good as well. And I think it's the same thing as for guitar players, bass players. If your sound is not good, recording is a pain in the ass.
It
You
is.
have to have a good sound when you're recording. And with those samples, I think that also threw you off. Just to name all the excuses in the world why it was
You
a
mean
pain.
the drum samples?
Yeah, the drums. Yeah, the drum samples were a bit shitty. And yeah,
But you use the different ones now.
yeah. But I mean, you recorded with the Roland samples, and now there are superior drummer samples being used, and they're the guy who
Much
mixed
better.
it, Javi, he also changed some sounds for the kick and snare at least. He kept the rest, but he has his own fancy samples. So yeah, it sounds. I mean, it's played by a human being, so it sounds natural, in my opinion. I mean, it doesn't sound like a robot like it was when I returned for the second session at Los Angeles. Yeah.
Yeah, I can
So
vouch for the superior drummer to be like really realistic because you know
if
people
if you're not programming it all, because if you just type in the midis, it sounds a bit stiff in general. Um, yeah, so there were no vocals. We didn't have the vocalist wasn't ready. I mean, he had the time while we recorded drum scopes. We recorded you on Sundays. You had to work all week. So every Sunday we record, then I would edit during the week, add some things here and there. And then the next Sunday you come in again to record, and uh, obviously not the whole day, just kind of chilling. We should have practiced actually. That's something noticed in hindsight. We thought, we should actually
Yeah,
have practiced
yeah,
to really
we were
give.
too busy dicking around all day, which
No,
was
we're
fun.
too busy trying to finish the recording on time. So to all bands, all aspiring bands, jam, rehearse your material when you're playing it correctly. That's when you go to, because it's also a new style of working. I think a lot of guitar players write songs, they program drums, and they tell everyone what to do, and then they record. And once the record is finished, that's where they start rehearsing, which is kind of what we did, we're planning on doing. But I don't think that's the right way to go. It's cool for a project, a studio project, but not when you're actually planning on being a band and playing live.
well, it's a way of writing and it's a way of having your stuff out. It works for some bands, but it's not the only way. And I think that you gotta have an idea, you know, like a very defined idea of what you want to do, and then you can bring it out to everybody. And of course, it's a bit more time consuming that way because you always have to have everybody sort of putting their own thing into the music. While what you did is very effective and it's very fast, but then you kind of have to have the other guys in the band agreeing with what you're doing and with the direction that you're taking, which is
I think
the
it's a
drawback.
very, yeah, no, I agree with you, but I think it works for a band that's been around for a while. They already recorded at least once. They jam on a regular basis. That's when you can do this distance kind of recording, or it's more of a sterile way of working because you know who will contribute with what, and you kind of know the songs already. Yeah,
and you kind of know like the level of the musician, so you're not gonna program something that is out of the
yeah.
reach
Oh yeah,
of
that
the other
happens a
guys.
lot with I've seen that with death metal where this guy was complaining about his drummer. Yeah, he can play my stuff and stuff. And then we asked the guy for the song, like, can we hear it? And he was programming all this 260, 270 BPM and complaining that his drummer couldn't do it. It's like, dude, there are maybe 10 people who can do that properly. So why bother? I mean, at least lower it to 240, 250 or something. It's silly. That's what we get to, with all the Pro Tools stuff. I don't, I like Pro Tools, but yeah, generations go that way. Everything is becoming so robotic that, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, well, like they say, the
It's
truth
a
is in the
style.
middle.
Yeah,
You know,
it's,
program
it's
something just as an idea, not as the actual part, as it should be on the record.
yeah, 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 true. Let's see. I was talking about vocals, so there were no vocals. Uh, when I was in Sweden, uh, I asked a friend to help out, uh, hoping that he could do the whole thing, to at least have a finished album and move forward from there. But that uh, just didn't have enough time. Uh, I had just a week booked. Both sessions were a week long. Uh, yeah, so we did two songs, three songs actually, but the third one's for another project. Yeah, that was that. So there are two bonus tracks um, on the record with his vocals on there, and I redid the vocals last summer. Why release it now? Like I said, there are a few things. So pandemic, I've mentioned that already. So just to fill some time to give people some extra music while they're waiting for the new release. Um, and it's always been in the back of my mind, like that one recording or actually two sessions that were never released. That was such a waste, actually. And it would come up a little bit when people ask me at shows, like, "Oh, so what were you doing before Anatomy of I? What have I heard you in other bands and stuff like?" I mean, I'm not saying that thousands of people were asking me that, but the questions have been asked from opening bands, other bands, or some people like my playing, and yeah, all I had was stories. So this kind of
fills
gives
the
the
fills the gap.
fills the gap, yeah, fills the gap, and it gives people an idea of how the songs were initially written. But it stands on its own as well. I think it makes it maybe more catchy for a lot of people because some of the feedback we've gotten, um, the main comments about the debut release were that sometimes it's a bit too complex, which is weird because if you look at all the bands that are around now, how fast they play and how complex and all the little runs and different like 10,000 solos per song. I don't see us as very tech compared to that, but for some people, the time signature changes and tempo changes were a bit confusing here and there. So for that part of the crowd, so to speak, the this prequel album, the Lost Angered sessions, would be
But,
more attractive, I guess, catchier.
it also stems from me and Tommy coming from a little bit of a different type of music genre, because we listen to a lot of grunge and to post metal and to things that were less complicated. And that kind of shows in this sort of prequel that we weren't exactly super death metal oriented.
Yeah, but
So yeah,
well, I think, well, from my point of view, I adapted the music when I did adapt it uh, more to the fact that there was a melodic vocalist. So I wanted to go a little bit simpler, maybe a bit less heavy. I remember specifically asking Tommy not to play skank beats, the thrash, not to do that, just because I saw a few bands that were heavy but had a melodic vocalist, not do that. And also, there were also a few bands that I heard do a lot of skank beats, and it was really boring. I mean, it would make the songs were still good, I won't name the band in question, but they had good songs. But when you hear them a couple of times live, you hear that 80% of the time they were playing skank beats while the drummer was really good and could do all these different things, but a lot of skank beats. So at that time, I tried to avoid that, and I was encouraging you to try other beats as well. So that fell in place, I think. It wasn't just a simplification because we were all younger. It was also because we were looking for giving more space for vocals and try to really be song oriented. I mean, at least from my perspective. And Pepe, you could play all this stuff and tell me you were looking for different beats, and you expanded on what I could come up with, which was skank beats. So yeah, that's. I mean, I think it was a
like Pepe said,
natural
and
approach. Yeah.
I've always approached my instrument. It's that a certain song that is shown to me will evoke some sort of reminiscence
Yeah, it will
of,
remind you of
of
something else.
some song that I already know from another
Yeah.
band, and that can happen multiple times in the span of the same song.
Yeah.
So maybe a riff will remind me of the Melvins, and another will remind me of Soundgarden, another one will remind me of Megadeth, and it just happens so often. Even when Pepe and I were recording our Nojatake project,
Yeah.
that in the span of a few riffs, you will have a
Different
metal beat,
influences.
a stoner beat, and then maybe
Yeah.
um, I don't know, a jungle beat.
Yeah. And so yeah, I need to wrap up. Thank you very much for your time. And
Okay.
yeah, let's looking forward to seeing you guys more often. I'll drop by in Amsterdam at Tommy's restaurant. We should catch up there.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Also,
Okay. Great.
and then when we do catch up, maybe we can talk about rehearsing these songs. Yeah, I think
That's a good
that would
idea.
be nice.
Yeah.
When,
We'll
yeah,
talk about it.
when I listen
Definitely.
to them, I do get the urge. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh,
play
let's
them.
let's let's see how to translate those urges. All right. Cool. Sounds like a
Awesome.
cool plan. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much. I have to run.
You.
Okay.